Get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's live. We're going to be talking about something so important today. We're going to be talking about 5 things that Miss Cassie here wished that she knew before adopting. Miss Cassie is an adoptive mom and she is adopting again with her husband. And so I'm so excited for her to come on today to answer questions and just to talk to you guys from an adoptive mom's perspective. My husband and I are still on the journey of adoption, but I think it's just always great to hear from people who've gone all the way and now they can kind of look back and tell us things that they wish they knew so that you all can avoid making mistakes or just kind of know the correct way to go if you are on the journey right now. So, for all of you guys tuning in, please leave a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know your name and city and state that you're watching from. And I'd love to say hello. Okay. Put your comments in here from Facebook, YouTube. Let me know if you guys can hear us okay as well. Just put audio is good. So we also know that you can hear us. All right, everyone. Again, welcome. Come on in. Make sure you share this live with your friends as well. Tell them to hop on tonight. We're talking about 5 things that Miss Cassie wished she knew before adopting. Okay. All right, Miss Cassie, let's jump in. Just, I guess, tell us a little bit about yourself and
Yeah.
how you even started on the journey of adoption in the first place.
Oh, that is a loaded question.
Yeah.
I am from Utah. We met through my Instagram account called Love the Bargers.
Yeah.
My husband and I'm gonna start from the beginning. My husband and we met about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and we kind of knew from the beginning of our dating or whatever that adoption was just gonna be in our story. So my husband had adopted previously with his in his first marriage, and that obviously didn't work out, but that's okay. And then we thought we had everything going good with we thought or I was pregnant at one point and then it didn't work out, and so we're like, okay, let's keep going. So
Yeah.
that's when we started on the adoption side of it, and we've been through you know the infertility doctors and whatever, and
Yeah.
um,
I
we
think a lot of people can relate to you, Cassie,
yeah,
because a lot of families come to adoption, even though some families have never thought about adoption before, and it's going through infertility that then got them thinking about adoption. But other families actually always thought about adoption. It's something that they wanted to have as part of their family story, but they wanted to, have their biological children first, and then kind of like, in a couple years, we'll do adoption.
yeah,
So, I mean, I think everybody who's listening to you can relate to that story of kind of your path to adoption. But I
yeah,
want to give a quick shout out to Glory Girl.
oh
Good
yeah,
evening. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for putting your comments in the chat, guys. Keep the comments coming. Thank you for letting us know that the audio is good on Facebook.
yeah. We
Thank you
were
for
having
that.
issues for a minute.
Yeah, we were. We sure were.
That's okay. Anyway, so
Yeah.
we had just it'd been a couple of years since we were married, and we had decided right before COVID had happened, we had a feeling like this is what we need to start doing. We need to start the process because it was just 3 years into marriage. We're like, okay, it's time. So,
Yeah.
or a couple of years of marriage. So we started by looking into agencies and doing our homework before that. We had connected with a few friends that had adopted. My husband obviously been married before, but his 2 children, my 2 wonderful stepkids, are also adopted. And
Wow.
so the process that they had gone through um, was through one private and one agency that no longer is around. So those weren't really an option for us. So I just started a private um, blog at the time and kind of put feelers out there. And we did, like I said, homework. So that's kind of how we started it, is just doing research, like most of you have done, right? You do
Yeah.
your research, you do your backgrounds, and figuring out what you need to do. So
Yeah.
we were trying to contemplate between foster care to adopt, and then just private adoption.
Yeah.
So we went through the foster care classes, and then we ended up connecting with a young mother, a young woman that was in a situation where she wasn't able to take care of her baby. I'm not going to get into that story. That's not my story to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's wonderful and amazing, and we love her, and that's kind of how we ended up doing it, was through private adoption. Um,
Yeah.
here in Utah.
So
Oops, sorry.
so sorry, I just have a question for you. So you guys sounds like you guys were going the foster care route,
Yes, we
and
were.
then like this situation dropped in your lap and he was like,
Yeah,
"Okay, okay."
yeah,
So, would you have kept looking into foster care if that situation would not have dropped in your lap? Is that kind of where your hearts were
yeah.
being pulled
Um,
towards?
I think so. I There's just so many kids in foster care that that's something that I knew I wanted to, look into, and
Yeah.
we wanted to do, just because not necessarily here in Utah, it's a huge thing, but all over the United States, right? It's a big thing. And
Yeah.
one of the things I don't really like that people say is like, well, there's so many babies in the foster care system. Like, why doesn't everybody just adopt one of those? That's not how it works. Like,
Right.
they could be like that way, of course, like we would do that. Everybody would adopt that way, but it's a lot more complicated, state to state and in different situations to be able to do that. And newborn adoption is not a thing that happens very often in the foster system.
Right.
It's typically,
Right.
there's families that have been in the foster care system for 4 and 5 years, and then they, receive a newborn or whatever situation, right? That just wasn't something
Mhm.
we wanted to necessarily not do. We wanted a baby, and so we just kept our options open. That's really what it was.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, um,
Okay. So
but
this situation dropped in your lap and then you guys decided to go for it.
yeah, and then we just kind of went with it. And something that we did is, we in our state, we have something, a company called UAS. So
Okay.
we went through them and did a lot of the social work and whatever to get ready for our adoption that way. So
Okay.
yeah.
So when you were navigating through your private adoption, once this situation dropped in your lap,
Mhm.
what resources did you have at the time to kind of help you know what to do?
Right. So we had done the foster care classes. So we did all of those, which I recommend taking. Even if you don't want to do foster care, I would recommend taking them, just because they're so in depth and it opens your eyes a lot to what you need to do.
I agree with that, Cassie.
Yeah.
That's yes. For sure.
Yeah, it opens your eyes. There's
Yes.
books that you can read. We read books. I talked to a lot of friends, and you know what? The biggest thing was having a network system of
Mhm.
friends to be able to kind of go back onto and kind of go, hey, what's going on? What do we need to do?
Mhm.
Um, I felt very alone through the process at first because I didn't have that system, and then I had connected with some other friends that we kind of started another organization called Utah Adoption Community. And we get families together that have adopted. That way, they have resources to be able to kind of talk with each other and bounce ideas off, or like what the process is and what to know. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, so families watching us, probably like my audience, they are desiring to adopt.
Hmm.
They are researching usually, and they feel stuck and overwhelmed with all of the information that's thrown out there. So, were you doing any type of like research as far as Googling, going in Facebook groups, Instagram? Were you doing any of that
Yeah.
when? Okay.
Yeah, I did start that. Um, when we first started, I don't feel like I knew a lot in the beginning, um, until it, got further down into what I was researching or whatever. So I started with joining the different adoption groups that they're on Facebook, and then I joined after we had actually gotten scammed from somebody.
Oh no.
We had joined a scam group on Facebook, and that actually like opened my eyes to some other things of people, what they had suggested to read and do.
Yeah.
There's a couple of like pretty known scammers that are out there, um,
Yeah.
that unfortunately, there's financial scammers, and then there's emotional scammers. Luckily, we were just emotionally scammed. I mean, that's broadly said, right? Like, nobody
Yeah.
wants to be scammed regardless of being emotionally or financially. Um,
Right.
but we saw the signs pretty quickly, and knowing those signs and learning them for yourself, and not thinking like, oh, that can't be me. Like,
Right.
it's more likely that you will be than not. So,
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
scamming with adoption is just like you can't even imagine like why people would do
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a financial incentive, but it's
Right.
just so evil. Like it's just so
Yeah, it's
yucky.
awful. Like,
It's
why would you
awful.
want somebody to feel like crap, like, in
Right.
general, right? But I, as a
Yeah.
human being, would never wish that upon anybody. So,
Right. Exactly. So now, how long has your baby been home?
my little guy is two
Yeah.
and a half years old.
Oh my
He is a toddler.
gosh.
He is,
Wow.
running around and just so fun and into things and
Oh,
curious about life, and yeah, he's great. He's doing
yeah.
so.
That's amazing. So, we want to hear from you, Cassie, the 5 things that you wish you knew
Yeah,
before you adopted. So, even though you were kind of going the foster care route and
yeah,
then this got dropped in your lap, what can you tell people about what you wish you knew before you actually like finalize the adoption?
yeah, for sure. So, I wanna say that this adoption is such a wonderful thing, and no matter
Hmm.
what you do and you're trying, you are on the right path to do what you need to be doing.
Hmm.
And there's gonna be so much frustration with adoption that you just need to kinda step back and breathe and say, "I'm not alone in this. There's
Hmm.
other people, and, there's other, you know, resources out there for me to help me be able to adopt." So,
Yeah.
the first thing I wanna say is that you don't have to go through an agency. I know a lot of people think you do, but our
Yes.
actually wasn't through an agency, and
Yeah.
several of the people I know, they didn't go through an agency.
Yeah.
UAS is not an agency, they don't place babies, they help facilitate, adoptions that way. So,
Hmm.
it's very much that you can do social media, you can do Facebook group, like, there's different things you can do. I know people that make cards and put them out in their community.
Yeah.
There's different ways to connect that way.
Yeah.
You can
I wanna say something about that because I feel like that's what I'm saying on my YouTube channel all the time to people, and
yeah,
I literally feel like I'm just, like, repeating myself over and over again, try to explain to people that an agency is not the only way to adopt, and so I try to explain to people that the reason why you see agencies everywhere is because they have the money to advertise. It's like
yes.
with anything, like, think about the
They know their
biggest.
SEO. That's what
What?
they know their SEO. That's what it
Yes.
is.
Yes, I mean, you think about even in your hometown, like your local grocery store versus your Walmart. You might see more advertising from Walmart than like your tiny little grocery store in a community somewhere that just doesn't have the funds to do the ads, but that doesn't mean that they're not a great grocery store or that you can buy
Right,
groceries from them. It's literally the same idea with adoptions, and
right.
people flock to agencies just because they have the money to advertise. And so that's one of the things that I really try to educate people about. And guys, Cassie, I'm glad you said that. There's so many other adoption professionals that you can use, and oftentimes an agency is not actually the best professional for you to use because of the cost
Yeah,
that it takes. Some are fine,
right.
but I mean, just it's better to look at all of your options,
And I'm
before you
not
jump into an agency.
right, and I'm not trying to say the agents, like, don't use an agency, that's
Right,
not
right.
at all what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
we've even looked into an agency for different reasons, and I
Mhm.
think there are some really great valid agencies that are doing
Yes.
good work out there,
Mhm.
but you have to do your research in order to know
Exactly.
what you're getting yourself into and what you're paying for. Like, with
Mhm.
an agency, you wanna make sure you're getting a statement of every single thing you're paying for down to the penny. Like,
Mhm.
don't let them take advantage of you that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, little things,
Yeah.
just know what you're doing. So,
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah,
All right, so number 1, you don't have to work with an agency.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
perfect. All right.
Um, Number 2, there is no such thing as an easy adoption.
Mhm.
So many people think or they say, "This is gonna be easy." No, it's not.
Yeah.
You you go through so many things, and it's ups and downs and ins and outs, just like with the pregnancy. We say I have a couple of friends that have had an adoption, and they've been blessed with having a baby of their own, and they say that um, adoption's harder than having a baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just so crazy because there's just so much involved with it. And it's
Yeah.
not just involving yourself and your family, it's your entire life. It's not
Yes.
just, those 9 months. It's your whole entire life that you're dedicating this to. So it is
Absolutely.
no easy adoption.
Right. I agree with that too. And there are some people that think that, I just don't feel like getting pregnant because I don't want to go through pregnancy. So I'm just going to adopt instead.
Yeah.
And I tell people that that's not how this works. It's not like a swap. Like, I just don't feel like getting pregnant. So I'm just going to adopt instead. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not how adoption works.
No.
It's its own separate like thing that you're doing. Like the way that you're growing your family through adoption, you have to understand so much about it. You need to know what you're getting yourself into. You need to know the trauma. There's so much that you need to know that it's not the same as having your own biological child.
No.
But people seem to think that it is like it's just, oh, I'll just adopt. And it's like having my own biological.
Yeah,
No, it's
and people
not.
think also, like, you're saving somebody. You're not saving anybody. You're
Right.
not. You're not saving
Right.
anybody. You are bringing
Exactly.
another life that is going to have trauma,
Yes.
regardless of what you think, and
Right.
bringing them into your life and your home and your family and to your experiences. And not
Mhm.
just that, but you're also bringing that birth mother and birth father into your family as well, which I hope you're doing because
Absolutely.
you need to have an openish adoption, right? Like, you
Yeah.
have to have that to be able to have
Yeah.
your child not have trauma. That's just
Exactly. I completely agree, Cassie. I
yeah,
completely
and
agree.
there
Yeah.
are boundaries as
Yes.
well, and I very much will say that until my dying day, that there are
Yeah.
boundaries in adoption, but
Mhm.
no, your adoptive, family needs to have boundaries, and the birth family needs to have boundaries, and that's just how, it'll work out for every
Yeah.
so
One of the ways I like to explain adoption is like you become a part of that child's story.
yeah.
Because a lot of times people are thinking, I'm getting a child from my
Mhm,
family.
mhm,
I'm getting something so I can grow my family.
right,
But the mindset has to switch for you to be the best adaptive parent that you can be. You've got to switch that mindset is no, I am inserting myself in
right,
this child's story because that child has their own story
right,
and you just now happen to be a part of it. They have a whole history. They've got biological, cultural, a whole history. And you, if mom obviously agrees, you now become engrafted into that child's story and they become engrafted in yours. And now
mhm,
together you are a family. It's
right,
very different from your biological because your biological comes out of you and then, you just kind of continue your life.
right.
Adoption is very, very different. It's a beautiful way to grow your family, but it's very different.
It is. It is a beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful way to grow your family, which leads me to number 3 is open
Yeah.
adoption can be a blessing, can be and is a blessing,
Mhm.
which so many people, like we were talking about, kind of just led into that. It's not your story you're telling, it's your birth, this baby or this child or whatever way avenue that you are able to grow your family. That's their story, and you want to be
Right.
involved in it and give them the best advice and things you can to help them in their life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think the because adoption has changed so much now over the years,
it
maybe
has,
because the mindset for so many years has been closed adoption because the mindset was, I'm getting a baby for me, for my family,
yeah,
and I'm just gonna walk away after that. But that's
right,
changed so much.
yeah,
But I still find that there's a lot of that mindset still there, especially families that are new to adoption. They're
yeah,
still thinking, I want a baby for me. And so I
mhm,
don't want anything to do with the biological family. And
yeah.
so,
And
um,
that if you're thinking that way, you need to change that thought process
yeah,
right
yeah,
now because you will not
yeah.
you probably won't be able to adopt that mindset, and
Exactly.
it's just negativity in your life, and like Taylor Swift says, "Karma is real."
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
you have to know that it's not about having it closed because it's not going, like I said, there's
Yeah.
there's boundaries, but there's also you need to consider having it open
Yeah.
for a child, but with great boundaries. So,
Right, right. And one of the ways I like to explain that too is like, it's kinda you don't really have a choice because the birth mom is the one who really decides anyway.
mhm,
Like, you can say all day, "I wanna close adoption," but
right,
if all the birth moms that your profile is being shown to want open adoption, guess what? You're not gonna be picked.
right,
So, it's kinda like I think an illusion to think that like,
yeah,
adoptive parents thinking that they actually have you have a choice, of course,
mhm,
but mom is the one who is the final decision maker.
yeah,
So if she's saying, "I want open adoption," she's only gonna go for families who are open to that. And if you're not, that's kind of like it's too bad for you type thing.
Right, right, and there
It
are
really is.
right, and there
Yeah.
are birth mothers that do choose closed
Right.
adoption. My oldest is
Absolutely.
close because of his birth mother, not because
Yeah.
of my, husband and his ex-life. Like, that's just what she chose, and
Mhm.
that's okay too if the birth
Right.
mother chooses that, I think,
Yeah.
and I I wanna stress, like, just do your homework.
Yeah. Just
Just
be open.
understand what
Yeah.
you get yourself into. So,
Mhm.
I just yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a birth mom contact my law office here in
Mhm.
Nebraska, and she was upset because her son she placed for adoption 30 some years ago was looking for her,
Oh, yeah.
and she wanted close adoption. She didn't want anything to do with him, but I just felt so bad because now that the son was looking for her, she's now trying to figure out like how do I block him even more. So absolutely, if birth mom says I don't want like, it's their decision is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
wherever the adoptive parents gonna sit,
Right,
it
right,
you know what I mean? Like,
right.
it's yeah, so
Yeah,
I hope that made
and
sense.
like you were saying, I was gonna
Yeah,
highlight on this, that adoptions are so different than they used to be
yeah,
20 years ago, 30 years
right.
ago. It's not the same thing,
Yeah,
and I know a lot of families that do open adoption because they don't wanna have that. I I don't know what I'm trying to say, but there's not as much trauma. There's always trauma, but not as much, I wanna say, as lifelong
yeah,
trauma if they're able to have those relationships and know who they are and who know their culture and who they, um, may be because they always
mhm,
have that DNA still with them
exactly.
regardless. So
Yeah,
I mean, my children act very much like us even though they're adopted, but they still have that, their DNA that
mhm,
what they came from. So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All
so
right, that's a good one, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the live. Make sure to share with your friends and put your comments below. If you have any questions for Cassie, we'll be doing a Q&A at the end, okay? So just start putting your questions in the comments and I'll go through them one by one when we're kind of wrapping up, okay?
yeah.
Thanks everybody.
So, the number 4 is that nothing can prepare you for the relationships that you'll have to manage.
Mm,
So, this goes with open adoption or whatever, is that you will always have to be managing relationships and not necessarily when your children are adults, obviously that'll be on them, but you'll be managing the birth mother's relationship with you, the birth mother's relationship on what your child sees, the birth mother and, your other children's relationship, which I'm so grateful that my children all have such a great relationship with our birth mother, and she loves them just as much. Like we are all
yeah,
just, um, we get along, and her, she has another child now, and we love, them just as much, and so even though there's other relationships as well that we have to manage because of, certain things that have happened in my son's life because of her family. We have to manage those. Like just know that you can't prepare for it, but just take it on and breathe. Breathe
yeah.
through it and it's gonna be okay. You're gonna
Mhm.
get through it and have your network. So
Yeah, and there's also so many resources now, right? I
yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
therapists and people that can help you also manage through those relationships. So I think that's a really, really good point is it's not like you adopt and then that's it, no more. So for an example, my husband and I are foster parents right now, and the goal is adoption because that's what the court has said. And then it switched. Now it sounds like it's switching again back to adoption. So we're just kind of along for the ride. But
yeah.
just the point that I wanted to make was the relationship with the biological family, we have to manage that as well, right? Like we have to make the decision of how involved are we going to allow the kids
Right,
to be and kind of navigating through, do we get to know the people, do we not? So
right.
I
There's
agree with
also
you.
right,
Yeah.
and there's also safety boundaries as well. For us,
Yes.
that's part of our situation is that's a
Yeah.
safety thing because of people making certain choices, and so we have to keep our child safe. That's the number one thing, and
Yeah.
if those boundaries are crossed, like, we have to, take action because,
Absolutely.
he is our number one. He's the reason
Mhm.
why we live every day,
Yeah.
and that's just part of it. So,
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah.
those relationships in check. So
Yeah. That's a good one.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then number 5 is to find your adoption community. So that is
Mm.
what happened with us, with me, because it is your vital survival to have such a good adoption community and the people that you are friends with.
Yeah.
also make sure that you are rooting for those people, not just um, thinking, "Oh man, they're in the adoption community too. What happens if they adopt before me? Like that baby was
Yeah.
supposed to be mine." No, 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 no.
Right.
That doesn't happen. That baby
Yeah.
is not yours. It is theirs. Like just be such a cheerleader for your community and for other people and be happy for them. And
Yeah.
good things will happen, but it's vital to have a good community. And I'm so grateful for my community that I have and I've kind of facilitated and created because they're amazing women, and I wish you could meet every single one of them because their stories and their lives are just as incredible as anybody else in the world, so
Yeah, yeah. So, Cassie, tell us about the community so that if anybody's in your area and they want to, they're like, we need community in our state,
yeah, so
they can
we,
know about it.
do the Utah Adoption Community. It's on
Okay.
Instagram and Facebook. Unfortunately, it's only local to people in Utah, and we've closed it off because, um, we meet in person. That's really what it is. It's not
Yeah,
because
it's
we don't like
amazing.
other states or anything, but it's
Mhm.
really because we just wanna keep it as local as possible so that when people need somebody to reach out to, they know somebody's there locally with them, and they can talk with them and connect. We get together, once a month probably, or every couple of months try to with our community, and we go to dinner or we just we're gonna probably start doing, you know, in sessions with people where it's a speaker will come in and give us more information about adoption, have a birth mother come talk to us. That way they're learning consistently and always able to understand more and more about adoption every
Yeah.
so
No, I think that's great. So, you guys, any of you who are in Utah, you want a community that you can see face to face, not just virtual, please go talk to Cassie. She's on Instagram. Cassie, are you on Facebook too?
yes, I am on Facebook under
Okay.
Cassie Barger.
Yeah.
Probably easiest to contact me through Instagram, which is Love the Bargers, or you can connect with me through Utah Adoption Community as well.
Okay.
So those are two
Yeah.
ways.
Awesome. Yeah. So those of you who are from Utah, in Utah, you're looking for that community, please go and find Cassie so that she can get you all hooked in.
With that,
And for those of you also who are on Facebook, not Facebook, on YouTube, and you are looking for an adoption community and you're not in Utah, I also have a community. It's called Kingdom Adoption Community. And it's really for Christian families they know that God's called them to adoption. They're trying to figure out what to do, how to do it. That's what the community is. So I'm going to put the link here. And is there a link for yours, Cassie, that I can put in the chat for
I will
people?
get it sent to you.
Okay. Okay. I'll just put, whoops, I'll just put this one in here. All right. So that was amazing, Cassie. Thank you so much. This is so good. Hearing from somebody who's adopted and you guys are looking to adopt again. Is that right? Are you back on the journey? Okay.
Yep, back at it. We're getting our website. I was working on my website today, so that'll be up and you guys can check that out. And
Yeah.
then you can find us on Facebook as well. So we'll get
Yeah.
that up and going. But this journey is it's interesting because we've already been through it. So we know to kind of just be patient and if it
Yeah.
works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, then we know what's next.
Right. Right. Are you guys looking into foster care adoption this time or newborn adoption?
No, we're not this time. We're just gonna do adoption this time. So,
Okay.
just not in the
Okay.
cards for us this time around. I think we'll do adoption when our kids are a little or foster care when our kids are a little bit older, just because we have, uh there's some things going on. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I've got some questions for you. And guys, keep the questions coming. Please put it in the chat if you have a question. But let me pull up the first one here from Reina. I'm going to pull it up on the screen there. Can you see that, Cassie?
Yes, it says, "May I ask how young is realistically too young that an agency will not consider someone for adoption?" So,
It's a good question.
it depends on the agencies. I
Right.
know that a lot of them will not go under I think it's 18, maybe even younger or, like, older than that, I'm not positive. It just depends on where you live. So,
Yeah.
it's really
That's
what it is.
yeah, I agree with that. And some agencies want you to be like, I mean, they actually have an age. Like you have to be 30 or older.
Yeah.
And every agency or adoption professional, they have their reasons why. And so it's not really something that's across the board. You just have to call. the different agencies and ask them, and they'll let you know
And
what
like I
their
said,
policy
private
is.
adoption is totally different. I mean,
Mhm.
I wasn't grown up enough at 18 to be able to adopt. I'm not saying people aren't, but that's just,
Right.
I
18 is really young.
yeah, so, I mean, I would say if you think you're emotionally, mentally, and financially stable to do it, it's do it. So, try it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and then I have a question here. How did you choose what state to adopt from?
Oh, we just went through our own state. We decided that I don't think we kind of, like, decided, like, this is we're gonna adopt out of Utah. It just kinda happened that way. It literally fell in our laps.
Yeah,
The situation did, and we were with our birth mother for 7 months, and that's a really long time for a lot of families, but it gave us time to be able to get to know her and be able to for her to get to know us as well,
yeah,
and I would say don't shy away from that at all. Just take your time and just we believe in Jesus, and so we say take your time, pray, do everything that you need to do to know that this is the right thing for your family and for you. So, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
we didn't I
Okay.
mean, if we could have adopted out of Georgia or Texas or any other like, we would have. It's just kind of how it happened. So,
Yeah, yeah, awesome.
yeah.
So, would you adapt from Utah again, or would you look into a different state this time, you think?
I would love Utah. I mean, locally is easier
Yeah,
because, we're here and that way we can see the birth family more often. We're fine traveling as well, so I think that would be something that you would have to consider as well, is if you are able to travel and see that family, then yes, adopt out of state, but you are making a lifelong commitment. But it's not just the 9 months and it's not just the year after,
yeah,
it is a
yeah.
lifelong commitment. So,
Mhm.
know that, like, if you're wanting to adopt out of state, great, or out of the country, great. Like, just know that's gonna be a commitment that you're gonna wanna keep. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
Okay, and then another question here. When and how did you tell your family and friends that you are going to adopt?
That's a
That's
good
a
one.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So we, didn't tell our family for a long time, actually. So
Mm,
we told them what we originally were adopting. That's what the process was. We put out a little Instagram message for we told our parents and close friends and stuff before we put the message out saying, we were gonna adopt, and that said that there's some little quip that said, "Our parts don't work, but our hearts do."
yeah.
And so everybody knew that way, and so kind of it went like wildfire,
Mm,
spread that way. Social media is huge.
yeah.
Um, but then when we had met our birth mother and had um, kind of established that we were going to adopt her baby, we didn't tell our family until most of our family, we didn't tell until it was officially done and
Oh,
finished.
wow.
So in Utah, I think it's a 48-hour release relinquishment time frame. And so it wasn't until we had paper signed that we officially told everybody because we didn't want it to be a thing and then be pulled back again or whatever. So
Right, right.
we didn't tell people that way.
Were you talking with your community though about it? I mean, your adoption community that you found?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. We talked with our community, with the close friends. Our Utah adoption community wasn't a thing quite yet when
Yeah.
we were adopting my little guy, or our little guy. But we did have other friends that had adopted, and we did tell them about him. And so yeah, but
Mm,
some of those friends are in the community. They know as well. They knew as well. So
yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, question from Jay
mhm.
says, "What if you are trying to adopt your child after giving birth? Is it too late for adoption after a year of giving birth?"
You're trying to adoption.
Hmm.
Mm,
That's more of like I'd say that's more of like a moral question, Jay. Um, I mean, I don't know that it's ever too late to place your child for adoption. I would say consider the emotional
yeah,
like trauma of that for sure. I would definitely recommend therapy with that and making sure that this is the right decision for you and the child. But I also know, I mean, I actually know of like a family member who's this gonna happen to. She was fostering she was fostering a teenager, and then she got pregnant, and then she wanted to place a baby for adoption, but then a bunch of stuff happened. And then it was like the grandparents wanted to take a baby, then they changed their minds. And so by the time baby was adopted, he was like one. And
Yeah.
so I understand that sometimes there's just kind of circumstances that happen when placement doesn't happen right at birth. But I would definitely say make sure that um, that it's the right decision and that it's obviously with the right family who
Yeah.
understands all the nuances of that.
Yeah. Adoption,
Yeah.
so you have to remember with children, they from the moment they are born until they are about 5 years old, they are a little sponge and they are taking everything in that you say, that you do, that they hear, that they smell, everything. They're taking them in. And if they're a year old, they have bonded with somebody by
Right.
that year. And so it's a very big decision to be able to place um, a child, or I would say a child at that point. But if that's something that you are wanting, make sure you go through the right resources to be able to do that. And like
Mhm.
we said, just do your homework kind of thing. Also, I haven't mentioned this before, but make sure you have a really good attorney. You
Mhm.
need a good attorney with adoption that is going to be on your side and help you understand, and that understands the adoption rules and understands the adoption communities. Because if they don't, you're going to be stuck in high water. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one, Cassie, for sure. Okay. And then Glory Girl had another question. She said, "What advice would or could you provide a person considering sibling group adoption?"
um, I would say know what you're getting into. So,
Yeah.
because I'm a stepmom, I would say know, have them know what they're getting into. I love my stepkids with every fiber of my being, but they are teenagers. And so sometimes it's difficult, and you're going to have, each child will have their own set of um, things that they need help with, or emotionally are needing help with. But I would say just help them understand what they're getting into, really.
Mhm.
And I think a group of kids, a sibling group would be great because they will always fight for each other and they are number one for each other and they want the best for each other.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's just more love, right? It's always more love when you adopt. So, of course, a sibling group is great. Keep the siblings together. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. If they can stay together, keep them together. I think children should be together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And that sounds more like foster care adoption
Yeah.
too, which is what my husband and I are doing.
Yeah.
So what advice I would give for somebody considering kind of doing what, my husband and I are doing, I would say it depends on your capacity to handle children. At least that's what I find.
Yeah.
If you have never had children before, it may be a shock to all of a sudden have two or three at one time.
Yeah.
Because if you've
The
never had, yeah, the age difference. Yeah, if you've never had the practice of just being around children or having a lot of children around and kind of knowing how children act and what they do, it would be a shock for you to just all of a sudden have like two or three kids in your home. Like the adjustment and all of the stuff that it takes for them to adjust to you, you to them, and all of that. So if you've never been around kids and you are not married, you don't have a, like a spouse that you can do this with, I actually would advise just adopting one to start with so that you can get used to parenting and having a child and all of the things that come with just parenting, because one is plenty for adoption. If you've been around kids, because a lot of people grow up in big families, you've babysat before, you know what toddlers do and you're used to that kind of stuff, then I would say yeah, because you probably feel more comfortable
Yeah.
having a couple of children around. The reason why I say that is because adoption is so it's so complex
Mhm.
that it's not as easy as like I'm babysitting my two nephews. You know what I mean? Like it's not the same thing.
You don't get
Eh,
to give them back.
right,
You can't
right.
be like, "I don't want these ones anymore." Like,
Exactly.
that's not how
Exactly.
that works.
Yeah. So I would just say with that, like proceed with caution, really, and make sure that you are emotionally like you can handle like you have the capacity, emotional capacity to handle more than one child. And definitely you're going to need a lot of help. So, like
Mhm.
family, friends, community is going to be huge
Yeah,
if you're going to adopt
yeah,
siblings, you
yeah.
know? But I'm a huge advocate for siblings. We're adopting siblings. So, I'm not trying to shy you away from it. I just want to say, like, we're doing this because we already had 3 children. Like, we know what toddler, you know what I mean? Like, it,
Yeah,
like, we're not shocked by toddler behavior, you know?
right.
Um, and we already had 3, and so we've done, like, you know what I mean? So it's just easier to just throw in 2 more.
Yeah,
Um,
and yeah,
yeah,
it's like your like people said nieces, they take care of their nieces and nephews, and that's one
yeah,
thing because they know what to expect. Like
yeah,
my nieces and nephews, they're like, "Yeah, Cassie knows." Like we know what to expect, but like when
right.
it's somebody else's kids that you're bringing into your life, totally different ball game. Like it's not
Exactly,
the same thing. So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. That's a great question,
that is a
Glory
good
Girl, by
question.
the way. That was a really good question.
It's really good.
I think that's it. Do you guys have any more questions? Putting in the chat. Cassie will be answering more here. We'll do about 5 more minutes. So please put your questions in there and then we'll be happy to answer. And while you guys are doing that, so if you guys don't know who I am, I mean, if you're watching my YouTube, you probably do know what I do. But if you don't, what I do is I provide an unbiased, streamlined um, resource for Christian adoptive families who want to adopt, but they have no idea where to start. So I guide them through the whole process so that they can adopt successfully without losing a bunch of time or money. And more importantly, to not lose hope in the process, because that's huge. And so that's what I do. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, you can DM me on Facebook. You can just find me, Lucrece Bundy, on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Lucrece Bundy, or join the Facebook group as well. And then I'll talk to you more about that too. Okay. Just want to make sure that you guys knew that. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in, but Cassie, I'd love to hear any last thoughts that you want to leave with those who are still watching tonight from 5 things you wish you knew before adopting.
Um, just be patient. Give yourself grace. It's gonna be okay. Don't think you're never gonna adopt because it will happen in God's timing. And
Yeah.
when the stars line or whatever, it'll happen. But I really suggest you get a good community of people that will root for you and be your cheerleader and understand where you're coming from because nobody else will understand what you're going through unless they've been through it or are going through it themselves. So I'm always open to talk. I'm always happy to take any questions you may have as well through my Instagram or our community. It's adoption is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I I hope that we can change a lot of lives eventually, or through this, because it's not like it used to be. It's different, and that's what I love about it is that it's changing, and families are more open and more willing and loving, I think, than ever before to want to adopt. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna do great things. So
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Cassie. Well, I want to pray over all of you guys before we head off the live tonight. God, I just thank you for this opportunity that we're able to come together and talk about the adoption process. I thank you, God, that your heart is for adoption. You adopted all of us. So, adoption is actually something that you came up with. It's not our idea, but it's yours. And God, I know that your first choice is for a child to stay with his mother and his father. That's the way that you created it. But Lord, we still thank you for when that's not possible, that you've made a way for adoption, for that child to still grow up in a family. So, God, I pray for all of these families that you will give them direction as they are pursuing adoption. You are the best matchmaker. I pray that you would bring them to the right child. You bring the right child to them. And God, I pray that every child that needs a home, that you would place them in loving and safe families. I pray your protection over every family watching. I pray for rest over them. I just pray your peace to cover their hearts, God, that it wouldn't be like, maybe everybody else that they see on social media who's just trying so hard and feels defeated and discouraged, but that we as Christians would be different because we trust in a God who's able to do what he says he's going to do and fulfill whatever he's put on our hearts. So I just bless everyone tonight. And Cassie, thank you so much for coming. I bless your family as well and the work that you're doing in Utah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
You're welcome. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next live. All right. Bye bye.